Welcome in on a Monday, everybody. I'm Reed Cowan. So Israel and Lebanon trade fire over the weekend as a ceasefire deal with Hamas hangs in the balance. The work right now to stop the spread of conflict in the Middle East. Plus, it is a sprint to the White House, and we've got new developments between the Harris and Trump campaigns, something that could signal when the two will debate on live TV. We're watching CBS News 24/7. Let's go. All right off the top, former President Donald Trump making a stop at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. He held a wreath-laying ceremony there. This marks 3 years since the bombing at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. In that situation, 13 U.S. service members died during U.S. troop withdrawal from the Kabul airport. So after Arlington, Trump also stopped at the largest Vietnamese commercial center on the East Coast. You know, for weeks, we have wondered when and how Donald Trump and Kamala Harris would participate in a presidential debate. Both campaigns, up until now, not of one mind on those debate rules. So a reporter asked Trump about something the Harris campaign wants, and that's for microphones to stay on during the debate. Here's Donald Trump's response to that question.
Would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. I mean, ask Biden how it worked out. It was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
Well, that's what he said. Now what the team for she said. Quickly after that, Trump's team said this on X. This is from senior communication advisor Brian Fallon. He posted this saying, Trump said unmuting the mics doesn't matter to me. Always suspected it was something his staff wanted, not him personally. So with this resolved, everything is now set for September 10th. So let's bring in CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa now. Okay, so Robert, is it as easy as that? Is the 10th just set?
At this point, the debate is moving forward in September in Philadelphia, but these kind of discussions are always fluid in presidential politics. The negotiations sometimes happen behind the scenes, and here they are, in a way, happening publicly. But former President Trump and sources close to him are still moving toward this debate, have agreed to it. It will air on another network in early September. For both campaigns, the stakes are so high. Vice President Harris coming off of the Democratic convention, former President Trump trying to gain some new traction. So there's an opportunity with the debate to try to gain some momentum. And that's why our sources at CBS News say at this point, inside both campaigns, there is an impetus to get on stage and have that debate.
So the polls are now showing that Harris got the expected bump after the DNC. What do you expect when we go into debate season there?
Debates are only one part of the presidential calculus when it comes to these campaigns. Advertising is another major component, and Vice President Harris now has raised over $500 million since she launched her campaign just about a month ago after President Biden exited the race. That money is going to provide a foundation for her in battleground states across the country. We hear a lot about the industrial Midwest, Arizona, and the Sun Belt. But what's notable this week is Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are also focused on the Deep South. They see an opportunity in Georgia this time around. Remember, 2 Democratic senators elected from Georgia in 2021. Vice President Harris will be kicking off a bus tour in Georgia this week.
Robert Costa, thank you for streaming with us today. A lot to look forward to. Okay, so Donald Trump now flies to the battleground state of Michigan. He's going to speak at the National Guard Association in Detroit, and that's where we find CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen. He's live in Detroit. Okay, Jake, what do we expect from Team Trump today there?
Well, on top of Donald Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery, where he laid a wreath and honored those killed in both the Abbey Gate attack in Afghanistan, but also just generally the thousands of troops that are buried there. Now Donald Trump has an opportunity to come and speak directly to some National Guards people. There's a convention here that is wrapping up today, and Donald Trump expected to address thousands of them, a lot of them active duty soldiers here, taking some time to meet with each other and network. And we'll see whether Donald Trump can kind of follow up on those national security remarks that he made last week in Pennsylvania, pledging to keep America safe, but also pledging to invest in the military, something that has been a big campaign promise of his since he was in the public eye 8 years ago.
Well, we know there at that microphone, Donald Trump is expected also to really tie that withdrawal from Afghanistan not only to the Biden administration, but Kamala Harris. How heavily do you think he's going to land on that narrative?
I would expect that this will be a main central focus. Obviously, you played some sound earlier of Donald Trump in Virginia speaking about the debate. I doubt that that comes up today, but we saw it at the RNC with some family members and service members who spoke there about the Abbey Gate attack. The Trump campaign has been heavy on this on social media today, and I would expect Donald Trump to follow up the same, especially because there has been some reporting that Kamala Harris was, quote, the last person in the room working on how that withdrawal would happen, and the Trump campaign has really tried to seize onto some of those notes about her involvement in all of that, in addition to President Biden's.
All right, so two words we've heard a lot this campaign season: crowd size. Give us a sense of how many people are there behind you at that very large arena.
There are certainly a couple thousand people here, a lot of them, like I said, active duty National Guards people who are here in full uniform. But this is kind of a different venue for Donald Trump. It's midday on a Monday, a couple thousand people here, and Donald Trump will be sticking to kind of some of these smaller events based around economic and national security messaging until later this week on Friday, when he's expected to have a big rally again. It'll be his second straight week with a big rally in Pennsylvania, a state he and his campaign have put a lot of resources in going to November.
CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen, thank you so much for joining us today on the stream. So, as you heard during her DNC acceptance speech, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden said a deal to end the Israel-Hamas war, that is priority number one for their administration. But when you see scenes like these, solutions seem tough to find. CBS News correspondent Imtiaz Tayyab reports while ceasefire talks happen, at the same time, Israel and Hezbollah exchanged airstrikes over the weekend.
Well, the situation, as you can imagine, remains extremely tense. In fact, we've heard sirens going off in northern Israel, and Lebanese media are reporting that Israeli artillery has targeted a number of sites across southern Lebanon. And although it, of course, is extremely concerning given the situation that we saw just over the weekend, many do believe that what's happening now is, frankly, the sort of tit-for-tat that we've been seeing along Israel's northern front and Lebanon's southern border for nearly 11 months now. Now, both Israeli and Hezbollah leaders have signaled that they are not going to escalate further, so that fear of an all-out war, at least for now, seems to have subsided. But of course, the threat always remains. Now, those talks in Cairo, in which many people had hoped we'd see a breakthrough this weekend, did not result in one. We understand that lower-level officials remain there and that they are trying to bridge whatever gaps remain between Israel and Hamas. But as it stands, there is still no deal, which of course means for the people of Gaza, where over 200 people have been killed over the past weekend, and of course for hostage families who are so desperate to be reunited for their loved ones, remain trapped in what seems like a never-ending nightmare. Reed.
So our eyes on international matters. When we come back, we're going to bring our eyes to the Midwest. Heat is supposed to crank up very soon. How people will be responding. Until then, we'll be watching the monitors. CBS News 24/7, streaming coast to coast and worldwide. Back after the break. Three people dead in Russia's largest attack on Ukraine in weeks. So here's what we know right now. Russia unleashed airstrikes across Ukraine over the weekend. You can see some of the smoke in the sky there, the fallout. So those who survived now have to deal with the implications of that. Water cut off, electricity cut off. And so BBC video journalist Abdul Jalil Abdul Rasulullah reports Russia's target is really Ukraine's energy infrastructure.
The Ukrainian authorities also confirmed that one of the main targets of this attack was energy infrastructure of Ukraine. And in fact, some hydroelectric power plant in Kiev was reportedly targeted as well. And we know that Russia has been attacking these facilities for several months already. And since March, in fact, they managed to destroy a number of those facilities. And in fact, Ukraine lost about half of its electricity production capacity. And we still don't know the scale of this attack. We still don't know how many facilities were hit, but clearly today's attack will certainly delay the recovery process and the rebuilding of all those infrastructure facilities that were damaged before.
Our BBC reporter is there in that part of the world. Live now to our monitors in Chicago, where temperatures, they will be brutal. The heat wave moving over the Midwest, where thermometers today, Jess, will read into the 90s.
90s and triple digits too, and that's just the actual temperatures. As we take a look at our feels like temperatures, it's even more extreme. So let's head over into Chicago and actually all throughout the northern plains too. Areas like South Dakota stretching over into Chicago aren't only dealing with extreme heat, but some really active weather too. Let's take Omaha, for example, sitting at 103 degrees today. The feels like temperature there, 111. You head over into areas like Chicago, 95 degrees today, 105 for our feels like temperature. And another thing to mention too, the National Weather Service is on top of this, issuing heat advisories all throughout that region throughout the afternoon hours today, evening hours tonight, and that's going to be the same trend in that region heading into the days tomorrow. But I also mentioned they're dealing with some active weather. The storm starting to really ramp up in areas like South Dakota. Taking a look behind me real fast, we're keeping a close eye on that heat up there, but we're also keeping a close eye on our loved ones in that region, as they could be dealing with some active weather, potential tornadoes, heavy winds, and of course a chance of hail too. Our severe weather outlook right now showing enhanced risk anywhere from Minneapolis stretching right back into South Dakota. That same exact region dealing with damaging winds. Anywhere up to around 70-mile-per-hour winds are expected today in Minneapolis. And we also keep a close eye on a tornado threat all throughout that region too. Things are changing as we head into the coming days, but right now large hail is still possible anywhere from Minnesota all the way over into northern Nebraska. We keep a close eye on our loved ones there, but for now, over to you, Reed.
All right, you got to see this, Jess. Meet the UK's oldest skydiver. Right up there, hovering above Earth and now touching the Earth, is Minette Bailey. She turned 102 years old by jumping out of a plane.
Well, I feel it's mission accomplished, and I haven't disgraced myself. When the door opened, I thought there's nothing more I can do or say. It's just jump. Well, I suppose I jumped, but anyway, I remember my legs going out.
Just jump. Good motto for Monday, right? She did it. By the way, this is a continuation of being a daredevil. When she turned triple digits, Bailey burned up a racetrack in a Ferrari at 130 miles per hour. Good for her. Hey, when we come back, Seattle's cyber attack, and it turns tricky for travelers going into the Labor Day holiday. What you need to know when we come back. Until then, we'll keep watching our monitors. Our live monitors take us now to Silicon Valley, California. The city of Palo Alto spraying for mosquitoes. Why? Turns out concerns over West Nile virus. Cases of West Nile detected in humans in several parts of the United States. In fact, get this, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, recovering at home after he contracted West Nile. He ended up in the hospital. Let's jump the map now to the state of Arizona, where a judge is going to hear arguments today in a case against Republicans accused of participating in a plan to overturn the 2020 presidential election. In fact, several allies of former President Donald Trump, including Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani, facing charges for allegedly submitting a document that claimed Trump won Arizona, even though Joe Biden was the certified winner. Let's jump the map now to Las Vegas, where a jury at this very moment is hearing instructions from the judge in that much publicized case of the trial of former politician Robert Tellis. Prosecutors say Tellis murdered a newspaper reporter who wrote critical articles about him. Tellis's defense, he says he was framed and that police planted DNA evidence. Okay, so let's jump the map to Alaska now and talk about this. It's a deadly landslide in the city of Ketchikan. One person dead, we understand 3 others injured. In fact, several homes damaged. Power is out right now for everybody who lives in this area. Workers are now warning people to get out because there are concerns of another landslide.
I'm really concerned for them because the weather hasn't stopped down there. It's still raining and blowing. And my home in Mount Lacatla, right outside of Ketchikan, has had no power since yesterday.
So that entire area, and you see it's pretty tore up there, under a disaster declaration. Let's go to Hawaii now and some welcome relief. Monster storm Hone weakened to a tropical storm after passing the Big Island yesterday. But as it did, it brought heavy rain, wind, even some high surf. In fact, the storm knocked out power to thousands of people on the island, shut down a lot of roads, even a soccer field underwater.
Well, at this point, we're still dealing with impacts, but we, at this point, started initiating damage assessments. So we'll start addressing the public to see what kind of private damage was, occurred in the community.
Okay, so from the H-named storms wreaking havoc to gusts from the next storm named Gilma. That hurricane churning right now in the Pacific. You know who's watching it? Jess, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing I want to start off with is that the Atlantic is relatively calm. So we take a look at the Central Pacific, and suddenly we're talking about not one, not two, but 3 storms still out there right now. Of course, Hone is just south of the island of Hawaii at this point. There's still a little bit of showers left in those northern islands. However, we're going to see the rain calm down today. A little bit of winds are still left in that region. We continue to keep a close eye also on the storms to come. The next one, Hurricane Gilma, currently sitting at a Category 2 out there. I'm going to drop the map so I can show you where those are at right now. Heading into the coming days, this one becomes a little bit more of a threat for northern portions of the islands. This is where the tropical storm is right now as it continues to track just to the east. Here's what's going to happen. That's going to continue to move to the east. It'll turn into a depression. It dies down. It has no impact for the islands anymore. However, we turn our eyes to the next storm. This one, like I mentioned, still at a Category 2 right now. It pulls close to the islands heading into the next couple days. It hits some cooler sea surface temperatures, which really helps it decay by the time it gets closer to the islands. But they could see some heavy showers heading into this weekend's forecast. Just by Thursday morning, it's still well offshore. We continue to keep a close eye on all the Central Pacific storms. Like I mentioned, the next one that we will keep a close eye on, it's this tropical storm right here, Hector, and it's still gaining some strength right now. Warmer sea surface temperatures are on that track, so we'll have more on that to come. Like I mentioned, heavy storms swept throughout the islands. Just south of that was the tropical storm Hone that continues to move off into the east. We'll see that one pull away. The next big concern is Hurricane Gilma. Breed.
All right, thanks. So if you know anybody traveling this weekend near Seattle, you likely heard about a travel mess. You see the people there in line dealing with it in real time. The culprit, a possible cyber attack. Well, that attack impacted the airport's internet system. It even forced several airlines to have to handwrite boarding passes, kind of like the old days. Hundreds of flights delayed or canceled. So far, no word on when things will return to normal. We're watching. Well, this could not come at a worse time. AAA says Seattle is expected to be a top destination this Labor Day holiday weekend. That means the people you see with the TSA are bracing to be busy at airports nationwide, with the reverberations of all of that going all over the country. A record summer of record travel, and now this.
Overall, this summer has been busier than last summer.
Before the kids go back into college, and then just having some time before everyone's back in the offices and school.
So if you're traveling, listen up. United Airlines expects this Friday to be the busiest day of that very long weekend. Pack your patience, get a good book. Cinnabon, highly recommended. When we come back, we're watching closely the day and the debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. They both want the keys to the White House. What will they say, and when will they say it? When we come back. Okay, 5:30, and right off the top, former President Donald Trump making a stop at Arlington National Cemetery. It was a wreath-laying ceremony there in Virginia, marking 3 years since the bombing at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. 13 U.S. service members lost their lives that day during U.S. troop withdrawals at the Kabul airport. So after Arlington, Trump also stopped at the largest Vietnamese commercial center on the East Coast. You know, for weeks, we have wondered when and how Trump and Harris would participate in a presidential debate. Both campaigns, all these weeks long, have not been of one mind on debate rules. A reporter asked Trump about something the Harris campaign really wants, and that's for microphones to stay on during the debate. Here's Donald Trump's take on that point today.
Would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. I mean, ask Biden how it worked out. It was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules. Same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
An answer and a swipe. So quickly after that, Trump, he saw this on X. This is from Harris campaign senior communications advisor Brian Fallon. He said, unmuting the mics doesn't matter to me. Always suspected it was something Donald Trump's staff wanted, not him personally. So with this resolved, everything is now set for September 10th. CBS News political reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now live. Aaron, is it that simple? Is the date just set, just like that? Snap of a finger?
Well, it was always planned to be September 10th, ran by ABC, this next debate. This was kind of just the latest debate over debates. The unmuted mic situation seems to have been resolved. The Harris camp believes, after Trump said it, quote, doesn't matter to him. Trump also insinuated that Harris wants to get out of the debate. The Harris campaign has said the same about Trump. So there's going to be this back and forth leading up to the early September debate. But at least when it comes to the mics, that issue seems resolved in the Harris camp's eyes.
We've seen a lot of reporting that says that Harris and her team have said, let him talk. Is that what is behind the keep the mic on?
Well, that's the approach. They really want to see, Trump without, in their eyes, quote, guardrails. And they really want to lean into that contrast. They have long been saying, even when Biden is in the race, that Trump is more unhinged, more chaotic, and they think that debate upcoming in early September can show that.
Aaron Navarro, live on the stream with us from CBS News Washington. Thank you so much. We look forward to more reporting and, of course, that debate. Okay, so let's talk about this. Members of the task force investigating the assassination attempt on Donald Trump are revisiting the scene of the attack in Butler, Pennsylvania. Ahead of that tour, some GOP lawmakers held a forum in Washington. We just got this sound. Listen.
I think that this is just the start as we continue to unpeel the layers and layers of why was there not an early morning briefing with all to ensure communications and last-minute security plans? Why was the surveillance drone not utilized, even though it was offered? And who ultimately is responsible and will be held accountable for one of the truly most life-changing incidents for a lot of us, where we almost lost the former president of the United States.
CBS News Pittsburgh, Jennifer Barrasso joins us live now from Butler, Pennsylvania. Okay, Jennifer, you have somebody who is a part of that delegation live with us on the stream.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to talk to Congressman Mike Kelly. He's the chairperson of this bipartisan task force, and he's joining us right now. As you see, all of these Congress people moving in right now to the Butler Farm Show. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining me. Now, this is important because some of these of your colleagues have not been to this site. This is the first time, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And we want them to see, well, they can look at pictures, they can look at what the drones were able to capture. What they haven't been is actually here physically to see exactly where everything took place. And I think particularly when we look at the AGR building where the shooter was positioned on the roof, the proximity, how close he was to where President Trump was at the time. So they're going to have a real life experience today of seeing what this looked like, including, which was my concern from the beginning, the entry and exit to this facility was very much diminished. They're doing half the roads being fixed right now. It's only a 2-lane highway. I was worried from the beginning about exit and entry, and if there was a safety situation, how would they get in and out? Because they were not expecting a crowd of this size, I can tell you that.
Congressman, so everybody here today from the task force?
No, not everybody's here. And, unfortunately, when we do these things, it would be better if we were in Washington, D.C., because we're all in the same place at the same time. There are people that already had other commitments to someplace else. We put this together that if you could be here, be here. All 6 Democrats will be here. 4 of the Republicans will be here. Some, Sheriff Higgins had hurt his back. He will not be here, but others are traveling and had other commitments.
So everybody is hungry for answers. You and I sat down. You want accountability. You want to know what went wrong here. We talked about communication issues. Just last week, that the U.S. Secret Service, they put on leave 5 people. Do you think this is a little too late right now?
I can't answer that because there's not a reason for why they were put on leave. I think that the Secret Service has to be accountable to us. The one thing we have with the task force is we have subpoena power. We will be able to find out what's going on. I think the transparency issue is the one that we are most concerned with right now. I think the American people can handle. They can handle it. They don't have to, you can't tell them what happened. Well, we are going to find out the truth. They're going to know the truth. And there's never going to be a question again of what were they afraid to tell us. I think the American people can handle that. They're strong. But it's our responsibility to restore the faith and trust and confidence that the American people need to have, especially in some of these agencies. You're looking at some people that are held in the highest esteem, and now you're wondering, geez, if the best of the best couldn't do it, who do we turn to?
Right now, it's been more than a month. Does the task force have all of the documents that you've requested from the DOJ, Homeland Security, the Secret Service, the FBI?
No, we don't have everything that we've requested. And then again, the subpoena power comes into place. It's taking too long. to get what we need to get right now. Now, we do have a full-time staff working in Washington, D.C. While not all the members are able to do it every day, we have a staff that's working every day on it. We'll continue on that search. We'll continue to request, and we will push to get everything that we've asked for. It shouldn't be hard for them to do.
I read a report today. Some people feel that dragging feet, like this is just taking too long. What do you want to say to that? I know you want answers badly.
You know what? It's always, with me, it's always been measure twice, cut once. I think that the worst thing we can do is come out with a theory or saying this is what happened and then come out 2 days later and say, well, we were misinformed on that. Be right before you get vocal about it. Make sure you're telling the truth. Make sure you know everything that you asked and make sure that it's verifiable. Just getting out and saying, I looked at it and this is what happened, that's not the answer. The answer is, let's do the deep dive. Let's make sure that we know everything that happened. My main question has always been at the end, we knew ahead of time that there was a shooter. We knew there was a suspicious person. That question keeps coming up in my mind. Why did you leave President Trump out on the platform when you were suspicious? You didn't have to do that. So that's the one thing that comes back to me. And then it comes back to the communication. We weren't able to communicate. Well, I don't believe that you wait till there's a tragedy before you start communicating. It's the preparation for the event that's key.
Anything else you want to say about today's tour, what we may learn?
Well, I think we're going to learn from the different law enforcement, local law enforcement that was here. So it won't be this hearsay about people pointing fingers at other people. They will be able to express in their own terms, in their own time, what they were assigned to do when they came here. And then the next question is, how many times did you meet? What was the game plan? How did you know where you were supposed to be positioned? And how were you going to communicate with each other? And you and I know this. I have documents that show the hour, right? The day, the hour, the time, the second of every transmission that took place communication-wise. We knew well ahead of 11 minutes after 6 o'clock if there was a suspicious character, and we knew this person was on the roof of the AGR, and we knew that he was armed. The question is, why did you not at that moment, right now, shut it down, get the president off the stage?
Do you know when those Secret Service snipers on the barn, when did they know Thomas Crooks was up there with a gun? Do you know?
What I know so far, and this is the dangerous part, we're going to find out when exactly they knew and what the communication was going back and forth. I think that the sniper that had identified him and had his sights on him was waiting for somebody to give him the go.
Thank you so much, Congressman Mike Kelly. So there you have it right there, the chairperson of this bipartisan task force. They are about to meet to tour the Butler Farm Show. I'll send it back to you guys.
Jennifer, that is what we call a hook in the stream, and one heck of a great catch on a Monday. Thank you so much for that. So let's look live through our monitors to this video, and it's live out of Minneapolis. Your friends in the Midwest, you're going to want to crank up the AC. Record high temperatures and a fight to stay cool. An excessive heat warning in effect. In fact, severe storms also expected to hit that region. Jess is watching that.
And we continue to keep a close eye on all that region as they're dealing with those extreme heat conditions and crazy thunderstorms to come into the evening hours tonight. Let's take Omaha, for example, real fast. It's sitting at 103 degrees today. You know the feels like temperature there? 111. Now we continue to head off into the east. Areas like Chicago sitting at 95 degrees today. Our feels like temperature there this afternoon around 103. So they're not dealing with just any little heat system moving through. This is some of the hottest temperatures that region has seen so far this year. It's a big reason why the National Weather Service keeps those heat advisories in effect throughout the evening hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow too. So it is back to school in a lot of that region, and we continue to keep a close eye on those kiddos dealing with that extreme heat. And another thing to mention, just in that exact area, you have the clouds turned on this map. There's thunderstorms and extreme weather that's starting to form all throughout that region. So take a look behind me real fast. Here's what's happening. We're still dealing with well above average temperatures, not only in Chicago, all the way over into Wichita, but up into Minneapolis too. We continue to keep a close eye on that region. Our severe weather outlook showing an enhanced risk anywhere from Minneapolis right back into South Dakota. That means we could see damaging wind today. 70-mile-per-hour winds are expected in areas like Minneapolis. We could see video coming out tomorrow potentially of some really bad damage just in that region. To add to that, a tornado threat throughout those northern plains will continue to impact that area tonight, and large hail is another big concern throughout that region. We can continue to keep a close eye on our loved ones there. For now, over to you, Reed.
All right, thank you so much. Well, if you're a billionaire, space can literally be your final frontier now. The first commercial spacewalk to happen after philanthropist Jared Isaacson, walking and talking and chewing gum here, and 3 other crewmates blast off tomorrow. This is all a part of SpaceX's Polaris program, where you can expect to see new and innovative spacesuits. Eventually, the hope to make space travel more affordable for everybody. cool suits there. When we come back, surrogates of both campaigns and battleground states today. Here's your headline: Elizabeth Warren in Wisconsin. We'll let you listen to that when we come back. This we know on the stream and elsewhere. Battleground states prime real estate for both tickets running for the White House. So we just got this video to our monitors from moments ago. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren making the case for Kamala to crucial voters. This is in Grafton, Wisconsin. Listen.
There is one and only one way to protect access to abortion, to protect access to contraception, to protect access to IVF, and that is to elect Kamala Harris as president, Democrats, including Tammy Baldwin, in the Senate. We get Kamala in the White House, and we get skinniest possible majority in the House and in the Senate. And believe you me, Roe versus Wade will be law of the land again. So this is the issue thrust upon us and that we will vote on November 5th. But there's a second issue we need to talk about as well. And that is the long-term hollowing out of America's middle class. How hard it has become for young families, how hard it is for seniors, how hard it is for people who work hard, play by the rules, and just have a difficult time making it to the end of the month. So here's the deal. That issue about your family's economic security is also right at the heart of the 2024 election. And I want you to know, Donald Trump actually has a plan. He has actually put this plan out. And this plan, the big economic difference he's going to make for families is this. He's going to give a giant tax break to billionaires. It averages $3.5 million a year for each billionaire in the United States. I'm glad many of you feel better. To know that the billionaires will feel loved and supported. They'll have more money to spend. And how does he plan to pay for it? They've laid out the details right there in Project 2025. It's to raise taxes on America's middle class. $2,600 a year for the average family of four. Donald Trump's economic plan is help the rich and the powerful get richer and more powerful and let everybody else in America eat dirt. Well, we say no, we can do better than that, and we will turn Donald Trump back come November 5th. So here's the thing. Kamala actually has economic plans. I know. When you're up against Trump, that's a little... it tells you the playing field doesn't look quite the same. So here's what Kamala wants to do. Let's start. I just have to do these quick. But I want to make sure you know these. When you knock on doors, when you talk to people on the phone, what's the first thing Kamala wants to do? She wants a fairer tax system. And her idea of a fairer tax system is we cut taxes for working people, we cut taxes for families with brand new babies, and we make the billionaires pay their fair share to run this country. What else does Kamala want to do?
Senator Elizabeth Warren there on the stump for Kamala Harris in Grafton, Wisconsin, a key state and a key county there in Wisconsin. Of course, the senator, no stranger to presidential politics. We know she also ran for the presidency at one point in her career. We will continue watching what she has to say, and as soon as we hear the fullness of her remarks, you will see it today on the stream. All right, so our live monitors now take us to Silicon Valley, California, the city of Palo Alto. They are out spraying for mosquitoes in those hills. Why? Concern of a West Nile virus. In fact, cases of West Nile detected in humans in several parts of the United States. Nation's top infectious disease expert, by the way, Dr. Anthony Fauci, he got it. He's recovering at home after he got West Nile. In fact, at one point, it put him in the hospital. Let's jump our maps to Arizona now, where a judge will hear arguments today in a case against Republicans accused of participating in a plan to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Several allies of former President Donald Trump, including Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani, facing charges today for allegedly submitting a document that claimed Trump won Arizona, even though Joe Biden was the certified winner. Now let's jump the map into Las Vegas, Nevada, where a jury is hearing closing arguments in the trial of former politician Robert Telles. Prosecutors say Telles murdered a newspaper reporter who wrote critical articles about him. Meanwhile, that former politician's defense, he says he was framed by police with DNA evidence planted. We'll watch that one closely. Moving now to Illinois, a former sheriff's deputy accused of murdering somebody in the shooting death of inside their home, a woman inside her home. That man appeared in a courtroom today by Zoom. Sean Grayson's attorney is appealing a judge's decision to not grant him pretrial release, something his attorneys want and want badly. The judge denied that motion. Grayson is facing 3 counts of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Sonia Massey last month. Let's go overseas now, and word of a mega million-dollar problem for Uber. The company hit with a $290 million fine for sending personal data of European drivers to the United States. By the way, that is a violation of European Union rules. Uber says they have stopped this practice. Well, you might be aware of ways to steer clear of online scams, but do your kids know how to do it? In fact, children are increasingly becoming the preferred target of cyber criminals. And national consumer correspondent Asher Qureshi reports what kids don't know could put their future and their future finances at risk. Take a look.
The kids at this computer summer camp outside Chicago are definitely having fun. But the lessons they're learning are serious.
What should you do if you think your account has been hacked?
They're playing a game that teaches them how to spot online fraud.
What is the best way to protect yourself from scammer emails? I got it.
Kids are basically being born with an iPad or a phone in their hands, and for them to understand how to become part of a connected society.
The University of Chicago's Marshni Chetty designed the Cybernaut app to help them become cyber safe.
So that we're not just throwing them in a pool with sharks. We're trying to get them comfortable with the pool before there are any sharks in the water.
FBI data shows money lost from online crimes against children more than tripled, from about $500,000 in 2022 to $2 million last year.
That's why Chetty thinks cybersecurity education should begin as early as kindergarten. And she says teachers need better training too.
Like they'll say to a kid, well, here's your password. It's got our class number, your personal name, like personally identifiable information, and they'll put it in a little card and give it to them to give to their parents. And
so that's their first experience with the password is it's written down.
You write it down.
You can give it to other people.
Your personal information. And then a few years later, we're like, don't
ever do that.
Do not do that. It's a very bad idea. So that's why it's important to start these lessons early, because otherwise you get this poor security hygiene, and it's really hard to undo.
Lessons like a zero-trust approach online, which includes avoiding malicious links, attachments, and downloads, usually from emails and texts. Also, strong passwords. For parents and school districts, keeping software updated, installing security patches, and using good antivirus protections.
There are circumstances where compromised student accounts have led to significant disruptions and issues in schools.
Kids at school are increasingly vulnerable to another kind of cybercrime, one aimed at taking down their entire school system.
Your children's digital identities were compromised.
Everything on my children, their doctor's information, their bus stop information, if they walk to and from school, what bus stop they go to, their medical records, where we live, where we work, every bit of information about our lives, they have.
I'm Asher Qureshi, CBS News.
All right, listen up, parents. Coming up on CBS Evening News, Usher looks into how cyber terrorists from overseas are now targeting elementary, middle, and high schools nationwide, and why you administrators watching are saying that you're struggling with a huge problem with security. That's tonight's Eye on America. Be sure to tune into that. Let's go to Hawaii now and some welcome relief. Monster storm Hone weakened to a tropical storm after passing the Big Island yesterday. And guess what? As it did, those outer bands brought heavy rain, wind, high surf, and the need for people to actually put up temporary homes under tarps. The storm knocked out power to thousands, shut down a lot of roads. In fact, at one point, flooded an entire soccer field. Jess, you see the people living under that makeshift tent there, and you know it's real.
You do know it's real. Here's the good news, though. It's now into a tropical storm, so it's been degraded. However, we continue to keep a close eye, not on the Atlantic right now, however, all throughout the Central Pacific, as they are dealing with more storms to come right around the corner into regions close to Hawaii. Let's zoom into this real fast. Not only do we have, Tropical Storm Hone, but we have Hurricane Gilma and another tropical storm backing that system too. Let's take a quick look at what's going to happen as we head into the coming days. The Hurricane Center is keeping a very close eye on the system right now, especially as the next one is expected to impact Hawaii just to the north of that island range. Now, areas like Honolulu right now, the winds are still up there. However, we are dealing with a lot lighter winds at the moment. We continue to track that radar just south of that system, or just south of the islands. That system continues to track off into the west, no longer impacting the islands. However, now we head over into Hurricane Gilma, still sitting in a Category 2 right now. It's going to hit some cooler sea surface temperatures as that makes its way closer just north of the islands, heading into this weekend's forecast. By Thursday morning, still sitting around 45-mile-per-hour winds. That's when it hits those cooler temperatures in the sea, and it helps it degrade too. Now, once we head over into the next couple days, the next big storm we keep a very close eye on is current Tropical Storm Hector. That could potentially impact the islands as well. We'll continue to track that and monitor it as we head into the coming days. For now, over to you, Reed.
It's like cauldrons in the water stirring out there.
One after the next, right?
We know you're watching it. Thanks, Jess. Hey, the first round of the U.S. Open tennis tournament bringing large crowds from all over the world to New York. We just got this from New York's police commissioner about keeping thousands who are visiting safe.
The planning for this event began the day last year's event ended, and public safety is everyone's top priority. At this time, we can tell you there are no specific or credible threats to the U.S. Open, and the NYPD will be out here every day making sure it's safe. So as you walk the grounds, there'll be security measures that you'll see and others that you won't see. We'll have an increased police presence both inside and outside the complex, including uniformed foot posts, screening checkpoints, bike teams, and regular patrols. We'll have our drones deployed, as well as aviation, harbor, counterterrorism bureau, K-9, transit, and other specialty units. And of course, we'll have the eyes and ears of the public. We cannot overstate how important it is for the people to be engaged, invested, and aware. So if you're here at the U.S. Open and you see anything that doesn't look right or feel right, call 911 or tell a police officer right away.
So this is the final major Grand Slam of the 2024 tennis season. By the way, American Coco Gauff and Serbia's Novak Djokovic look to defend their crowns. Hey, that's it for us at CBS News 24/7. We want to leave you with live images right now. Former President Donald Trump getting ready to take to the stage in Michigan. I believe that is one Kid Rock wearing a Make America Great hat. He's warming up the crowds in Michigan before former President Trump addresses the National Guard Association.